Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour here on G-Force TV. I'm your wingman, Cam K. I've got the Pinty's reps right behind me, the chicken chunks and the buffalo wings from our good friends, obviously, at Pinty's. It is race weekend, and I can't believe we get to say that already. Feels like it's been too long since Chaudier. Yes, no good names left. I appreciate that. I don't have any control over that, so I'll have to make sure to pass that on to those who are in control of the YouTube channel. I just host on it, but I do think that's a great idea. So definitely let me know how I can do that. We'll try to figure that out. Glad you're back this week. Showtime 787. Yes, let's start our engines. We are ready. It is time to go out east for the Proline.com 225 presented by Quick Wick. And we're finally going to a new track. We're going out to Eastbound Park. This is a track I think everybody has been very curious to see how this is gonna go. There's a lot that we need to find out how things are gonna go here. This could be a crazy racing weekend in terms of not just the race itself, but the travel to get there and back. Hopefully, weather is good. Yeah, thank you, no good. Okay, I'll have to let the mods know that they can make that change, because I agree with you. That would be helpful if we didn't have to deal with that every week, because it's just me here when we do a live broadcast. So I really appreciate that. See what we can do to make sure that the spamming in the chat gets taken care of. But we're coming off of an off week for the NASCAR Pinty Series. Not an off week for a lot of the drivers. In fact, a lot of them out at Cornwall this past weekend to do some dirt racing, including Lassard, Tagliani, Dexter Stacy, and Andrew Ranger were all out there. JP Bergeron out there as well. So very exciting times for them. Trayton Lapsevich was out running the APC Series at Peterborough. Didn't have the best result, unfortunately, for him. We know that there's a lot of names looking forward to going to Eastbound Park. Of course, those who are local to Eastbound Park are going to be extremely excited. If you are in the Atlantic provinces, this is definitely going to be for you. There's a lot of excitement there. For whatever reason, I am not sure if we're on Facebook. It doesn't appear that we are for some reason. Again, we tend to have this problem quite a bit, actually, with my stream, unfortunately, is there's some silliness with YouTube and Facebook. YouTube I don't seem to have a problem with, but for some reason, Facebook on G-Force TV, with the video that I put in the beginning with the racing, it categorizes it as dangerous driving, which is hilarious, but it also causes it not to air, which is really annoying. But we'll do it here on YouTube. Appreciate that for everybody tuning in. This is a big deal for everybody out at Eastbound Park, everybody in Atlantic Canada. I know we've got somebody in the chat already, Mitchell, who is our good buddy. He's been waiting for this. We know people that have been out there, Derek, and of course Mike James out there. This is their time. They've been waiting for an event such as this. We've been waiting for an event like this, and the reason I say that is because this is not just a NASCAR Pinty Series event. This is not a Pinty's event where you're going to see the rest of the province really about it. This is where the province is really putting in a lot of money. They've got their tourism board that's putting on this show. They're promoting it heavily, not just on social media, but within the province itself. Obviously, this is a good opportunity to get people from around Atlantic Canada to come to this event, not just those within Newfoundland, but in the neighboring provinces. And I think for this series in its rebound so far for this year, we have seen record car counts. in terms of recent memory, and the momentum seems to be heading the right direction. Now, we obviously still need a lot of help to get further to where we want to be. That's a regular of um, competitors week in and week out, maybe helping the competition level. I think we have a couple of cars that we know really aren't at that level where we know they could be. I mean, that could just be because of the part shortages and how rushed everything has been in the off season to get everybody up and going. I think there's momentum that we could potentially take into next year. This is the crazy thing we think about. This is only race 4 of the season. We still have a ton more races to go, and it already feels like we kind of know who's going to be battling for the championship week in and week out. However, it's right now such a close points battle based off of statistics so far this season. Now, I've actually pulled up Racing Reference for myself to look at this because there's some interesting tidbits that I think we'll find very interesting. So, for somebody like myself who lives and breathes the NASCAR Pinty Series, you pay attention to statistics. That's what you want to do when you're in somewhat of a media field. We're obviously with the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. We want to be aware of how the drivers are doing, and really where people are going to fall. We don't know if everybody will make it to the end of the season. That's the reality. It is extremely tough financially across the board for all of these race teams, the drivers, families, sponsors, everybody, really. And we haven't seen yet any sort of casualties to that. But again, the season is still very fresh. We know that we've seen some early accidents, not as many as maybe in past years, which is good. That's what we want. We want cars that are going to be able to last. However, we went through a pretty severe accident at Chaudier that took some pretty bad damage for the number 2 car of TJ Renamato, and it for somebody like him, obviously it's maybe not as difficult to get the money out there to get a new car. But for the teams, it doesn't leave a lot of time. So as far as I know, he's on the entry list. He's going to be at Eastbound Park. But they've obviously had to do a lot of work, and I'm really interested. I've got a phone call with somebody from WMI this week, and I'm very interested just to hear about their program and how things have been for them. White Motorsports has been providing a lot of the chassis, a lot of the cars for the field this year. And I'm not saying that they're the only ones. They're definitely not. Obviously, you have McCall and you have other guys that are just using the same chassis that they had built years ago. But the real kind of tough part is what is going to happen in the next months. Obviously, we're still having issues with parts, and we're still having issues with tires and making sure that people can get them. And we're going to get to the entry list for Eastbound Park. We'll talk about kind of what we'll see, hopefully at least. And then, of course, we'll get to the point standings, and we'll see if we might wrap it up a little bit early today. There's not as much conversation, not a lot of stuff that has happened. However, I do want to make sure that we do go over some of the paint schemes for this season. One of the things that you'll see in the NASCAR Pinty Series Facebook group is I like to do polls, and of course I want to make sure we do our paint scheme face-offs once again this season. Obviously there's a lot of contenders for really good paint schemes. I've got some photos from some friends from that group that I want to show off, and have them on a rotating basis, and we'll let you guys take a look at some of those paint schemes. And there's obviously a lot more, but there's only so many hours in the day to get everything ready here. So let's start off with talking about how we are in terms of the point standings for the 2022 season so far. So first off, this is what's great about the series this season is that it is a tie for the points lead. Kevin Lacroix and Alex Tagliani lead the point standings. Tag, relatively quiet, I would say. Really hasn't done too much, but 3 top 10s to start the season is the consistency that you want through 3 races. Obviously, it's not been flashy in the 18, but just solid results, and that's what you need to do. Kevin Lacroix, of course, he has a win in that crazy finish, and we definitely want to see that. Mark Witowski, nice to see you, buddy. Um, Marc-Antoine Cameron. Now, this was a statistic that I couldn't actually believe I read, um, that I read right, but 305 laps led. And I had to double check that. And he has led the most laps this season by far. But when you take a look at who's having a career year, Marc-Antoine Cameron is 305 laps. He's led through 3 races of this season so far. Okay, so remarkable. But then you look at what's his career total dating back to his races that he's done since 2013. 196 for a full season in 2018. That's the most. Yes, it happens to coincide with his first career victory at Chaudier. Or not at Chaudier, at Saint Eustache. Oh, I love it. I miss it. But 305 laps led through 3 races. This is going to be a very, very tough season if Marc-Antoine Cameron is going to be this dominant so early in the season. And I don't know if we really expected that we would see this out of Paillet Racing right away. But what it does show is that chemistry is everything. And maybe the chemistry just wasn't there at 22 Racing for Mark. And he's now in a finally, Luke is back. That's right. In the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in, Luke. But this is something that I think we know that when certain combinations come together, they fit. And this seems to be a year that we're going to see that with Paillet Racing. And I don't want to spoil anyone's party here because it is only the 3rd season. So it very well could end. People will just get better and better throughout the season. However, if they're starting off this good, it's going to be really hard for people to beat them because both team cars look to be great. And I wouldn't be shocked if they add a car if they have the option to. I think that team is looking so strong right away. I wouldn't be shocked if they continue this success all throughout the entire season. They need people to get back to where they were if the competition is going to be stiff all season long. Trayton Lapcevich, for example, having a mechanical failure at Chaudier is not what he needs to win the championship this season. Now, he is in 8th place, 11 points back. That's not insurmountable. That is possible that he can get those points back. However, it's the competition that is above and around him that he has to be very careful of. We've talked about this before. You have somebody like Gary Clute. This season, Gary Clute has 3 top 10s just like Alex Tagliani does. And he's 4th in the points, only 2 back. Marc-Antoine Cameron is only 1 point off the lead of the championship. You go back to Brandon Watson. He's 5 points. You have 5 points from 1st to 6th in the standings. That's outrageous. On a good side. DJ Kennington, Trayton Lapcevich, Andrew Ranger, and JP Bergeron all within 19 points. And I don't think 19 is that much, but when you think about how tight the championship battle has been so far, it's very interesting. And maybe we see something, we don't know what's going to happen, but could EHR decide, hey, Raphael Lessard, we want to get him a full season. We missed 1 race at CTMP, and he's going to be at Eastbound Park this weekend. Maybe we decide, you know what, let's put Raphael in full season. I noticed that they put on their hauler Transit Inc., and Transit Inc. was one of his big sponsors. So maybe Transit Inc. is going to step up and maybe help Raphael Lessard make it to the full season. That would be awesome. It would be so cool. I think people really would want to see him attempt the rest of the full season. He obviously missed his CTMP. That's gone. That's happened. But if there's anybody that could still battle for this title despite missing a race, it would be Raphael Lessard. It's been a little slow. I think we'll admit that maybe he hasn't been as up to speed as we expected him. But he's with the new team in a way, right? He was going to be with this team, but before the rain and the cancellation at Chaudier last season. So Lassard is definitely somebody we're going to have to continue to watch for. Um, Another sneaky point guy right now is that 64 of Mark Dilley. And I talked about it in the previous weeks. Mark Dilley has not been at the level that we are used to seeing him for many years. There's struggles within the team, I think, is just maybe equipment. Um, Maybe there was some other issues within the organization, maybe with organized issues with Mark, health wise, who knows? Um, but what I see so far, he's 11th in the point standings already. And if not for that early issue at Shody, I think he would have finished much better, even though he's still rebounded. I think that this RGC sports team is not going to go away either. Your competition level, 22 Racing is not the top anymore. I don't believe they have too many competition battles within Paye Racing, Lacroix. I think you've got DJ Kennington, obviously, EHR. There's going to be some struggles here because there's guys that we would have maybe anticipated being higher up in the results, higher up in the point standings, and they're maybe not there just yet. But when you look and you have RGC Sports in 4th, in 6th, in 8th, in 11th, and then TJ in 17th, that's not bad at all. I mean, it's a solid group of guys. And based off of what I would think, Mark and TJ are very, very smart. They were smart by getting Brandon Watson, smart by getting Gary Clute, smart by getting Trayton Lapsevich. If I'm in charge, and if I'm TJ and I'm Mark, maybe they don't carry on for years and years and years. Maybe TJ, and this, I'm just speculating. I have no idea what their plans are, but they've put in a lot of work. They've got some brand new social media stuff. They've got more cars. They've got a bigger presence at the racetrack, new sponsors that have come in to be involved with them. I would not be shocked if TJ or Mark at some point decide to move aside and then they put 2 more guys in their cars. And then all of a sudden you have young guns or good drivers from either Ontario or Quebec in the 64, in the 2 car. You never know. I mean, I look at guys like Lane Zardo, who's in the Superstock series. What we've been told is that Pinty's cars are very comparable to Superstocks, not as much with the late model, APC late models. So I look at him. I look at somebody, why not go for a Carson Nagy, somebody who's maybe young and still needs to get that experience. You go out to Delaware and go with Ray Morneau Jr. You could go and get a veteran like J.R. Fitzpatrick, or get somebody like an Andrew Gressel. There's still a lot of options there. Garrett Tiemersma is somebody who I really fully believe is prime for racing in Ontario. And I think they went out and got the biggest name in Brandon Watson. That was the biggest free agent that they could have gone and put in one of their cars. So again, you look at those names, TJ and Mark, they're not dumb. They know exactly what they're doing. This was a plan of theirs for years, and they're fulfilling it. They've got Dave White helping them out with the cars. And I look for so much more for the rest of this season. And we're seeing it already. Trayton Lapsevich winning. Trayton's been great ever since he came into the series, but it's the Gary Klutz and the Brandon Watsons. That's what we're really excited to see. I think there's going to be more of that with RGC Sports. They sponsor names without racing and all over in Superstocks. I think it's Jason Parker they're with. They're with the Weekly at Delaware, Superstocks with Ryden Lapsevich. That's a potential partner there. Dustin Momberquette out of Sunset Speedway. He's somebody else we could be looking to see in the future. They've got veteran in the it's pretty cool that they go in to sponsor a guy like Stompin' Tom Walters in the Hot Rod series. So they're really all over the place. They're like Quick Wick in that sense. Obviously, we still need to get more names and more partners within the racing community to step up. We can't just gouge who we have already. But RGC Sports, I'm still saying, like, they are very impressive so far this season. So these teams have stepped up majorly, and where I feel they've stepped up, we've kind of seen a good. So I just want to say hi to Terry, and I want to say hi to our good buddy Rick Verburn. Rick Verburn, of course, crew chief for DJ Kennington and a Superstock driver in his own right, finished 9th in the Superstock race at Peterborough Speedway. I'm so happy to see both of you guys in paying attention. Not sure who the Froster is referring to. No, I don't. But there's, of course, like I said, this season, Larry Jackson. Of course, we're looking at Larry Jackson's had a bit of a rough go of it. He was running much higher up in the race at Chaudière. Unfortunately, got spun on the final lap, caused a bit of an issue there. Dexter Stacy, again, what Dexter has had so far this season is he's had a great run when he went to CTMP, finishing 3rd. That was a fantastic race for him. Best career finish, his first podium. But unfortunately, it's been the tale of the short ovals so far this season, and that has been calamity for him. He had a crash that put him out early at Sunset, and then the same at Chaudière with Mark Dilley. So we don't obviously need that. But I think, again, if Dexter Stacy can get back the consistency, now we know he's capable because we've seen it. He was very, very good last season. Took a lot of struggles that he had had in the past and was finally able to get things going the right direction for him. It's been a long battle for him, but I think having his dad out there, it's great. It's great for him. I think it would be so cool to race your dad. Now, obviously, it's been a little bit of a a learning curve, I think, for good old Wallace Stacy, but he's improved as well in just the short amount of time that he's been in the series. And I think that's remarkable to see some guys coming out there. And I think, like I said, and Terry would know. I mean, Terry's in the chat, and Terry works on the cars. He works with these drivers. He sees day in and day out. And I think what I was about to discuss, Terry, was that EHR as a whole seems to have been the team that has seemed to struggle so far this season. And I don't think we were really expecting that with Raphael Lessard coming in, with Brett Taylor coming back with that new kind of deal, Dexter Stacy with his success from last season. And so that's been a little bit of a disappointment, I think. And I know that EHR is obviously not going to settle for that, but this is a good chance for them to rebound. I think somebody like Brett Taylor needs that confidence. And I know he gets hard on himself. We talked with him a couple of times, and it I can tell it wears at him, and that's like any driver in the series. When you're not having the success that you know you can, it is remarkable, however, that in this day and age we have multiple teams that have 4 cars, that we aren't wadding cars up every week. I mean, we were close. Several times we were close. Now, this is where Eastbound Park comes into play. So we got the confirmation from Eastbound Park, from NASCAR, about what we're going to see for the ProLineStadium.com 225 presented by Quick Wick. This is your entry list, okay? Now, this is what we expected. We expected to see these names. There's not any real surprises out here. Obviously, you got your Glenn Stiers, JP Bergeron, TJ Renamato, Brett Taylor, your full-time guys. Raphael Lessard, I know guys out in East are very excited to see that. Brandon Watson. Then you got DJ Kennington, Alex Taglani, Trayton Lapsevich, Andrew Ranger. And now this is the biggest one here from Chance Cove, Newfoundland. Sarah Thorne is going to drive the 28 Dodge for DJ Kennington. Now, if you're going to say that's a person you want to book your first start with. Now, DJ has experience. He has had, obviously, rental drivers in his equipment before. Rick knows all about that, and he's had, for the past couple of years, obviously, he's had DJK equipment for Andrew Ranger and Alex Gannett. So that's obviously one thing. I don't know much about Sarah. To be honest with you, I know she's local racer, successful racer out of Eastbound Park, so that is her home track. We don't know anything about sponsorship as to what's going to be on the 28 car. It will be tough for Sarah, regardless. I mean, her first start in the Pinty series, typically with these rental rides, they're maybe not the top conditions. They're not cars that are used in week out, unless they are a full season rental, which I don't believe we've seen any for the DJK racing cars this season. We know that there's been a couple of guys like Gary Clute who runs his oval cars with that. So Sarah obviously having the knowledge of the car knowledge of the track is going to help her out. Absolutely. Whether or not the adapting is going to happen right away, it's hard to say. But for me, I love seeing this. Julia Landauer drove for DJ Kennington for many races a couple years ago, and I'm all about having women in the series. I still believe we need full-time women. Chantal Kalika, I would think, would be the closest to that happening, or maybe a woman from Quebec. We've seen Isabelle Tremblay and Marie-Ève Defoe do that in the past. However, we haven't had a female driver full-time for many seasons. I think Erica Thiering may have been the last one that attempted a full season. LP Dumoulin and then Brandon McFarlane. And Brandon has a beautiful ride, which I can't wait for you guys to see it. It looks beautiful. The paint scheme was revealed and put on the NASCAR Pinty Series community page. It was also on last week's episode. So Brandon, I'm not familiar with Brandon McFarlane. However, of course, I got to take what Mitchell says, and that they're both really good Sportsman Series drivers. And of course, like we said, DJ Kennington has experience on this racetrack. He and J.R. Fitzpatrick. So maybe somebody pulls a sneak move and gets J.R. Fitzpatrick in one of these cars for Eastbound Park. I would be totally okay with it. Probably unlikely. But Brandon McFarlane out of Torbay, I think that's how we say it, Torbay, Newfoundland, and Sarah Thorne, your local drivers. I'm so enthused. I'm so happy to see that. I was hoping to have a little more full-time drivers, honestly, or not full-time drivers, but drivers out of Atlantic Canada. I was hoping to see maybe Cole or Jarrett Butcher out there. Obviously, those are pretty successful names. Nolan McDonald. I think it's Nolan McDonald. Austin McDonald. Wow. Austin McDonald out of Pictou, Nova Scotia. I would hope that we could have gotten those guys out, but they're very busy with their own racing careers right now within late models. So, maybe just wasn't in the cards for them. Gary Clute, Mark Dilley, Wallace Stacey, Brian Cathcart, Kevin Lacroix, Donald Teague, Larry Jackson, Dexter Stacey, and Mark Antoine Camerant. Now, if it's me, I'm expecting Camerant is going to be the guy once again to be fast right off the start. It's comparable from what I've heard to several of the ovals that we've had in the series. What it looks like though is that two ends are completely different. It's been described to me as a very, very fun track, but can get chaotic, which is what I was told as well. Whether or not it gets to that full extent, we'll have to see. I know there's some guys who want to just get out of the race with a clean car, which is great. Obviously, that's fantastic. But I think you're going to have some really tight battles all throughout this racetrack. 225 laps, so a little bit shorter of a race than what we're normally going to see. 250 is typically what we do, but bigger race, which is great. I like this. I from all things, it seems like this is going to be a really big deal. They got Hall of Parade coming in on the Friday. They've got the Pinty's Fest, I think it was called. Let me make sure that I have that correct. It was a they're gonna have festivities that take place on the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday. So it's excellent. I'm so excited for everything that's taking place out there. Obviously, it's a little tough to make it happen this year for myself. Um, Long distance to go, and a lot of things that have to uh, come into play, like travel to the racetrack, travel there and back, hotels. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to go into this, and so my understanding is the haulers have already left. The race isn't until Saturday, and they've already gone. FanFest, thank you, Al Harris, for letting me know. It was FanFest is what it was called, which is great. Pit party, lots of chances to get some autographs, and this is something that again we take for granted here in Ontario because we are able to get racing here. You get IMSA, you get a lot of stuff at CTMP. We've gotten trucks. You get the Honda Indy every year. Atlantic Canada does not get this. They don't get this type of hype. They don't get a lot of the stuff. Not saying that they don't deserve it. They sure as hell do. There is a lot of fantastic racing out there. There's a lot of fantastic tracks out there. Look no further than the IWX 250. It is, yeah, so DJ left this morning. EHR, their haulers left yesterday. So there's a lot of time that you're gonna have to dedicate to this race weekend. So hopefully, we'll see one more. The one that I didn't see on the list is, I believe, Sam Fellows. Now I don't know if I've just missed if I just cut his name off. No, his name is not there. So Sam Fellows is not listed going out all the way to Eastbound Park. So not unexpected. Jim Bray Racing's not got the budget, and I don't know. So if they're not gonna go out there, I'm not completely shocked. It has to be a budgetary thing, I would have to think. And being able to just logistically get there. If you're not able to get the car ready, like Rick and Terry have said, you've got to go and catch a ferry. It's not like you can just drive there, right? So it's a lot more difficult. Mitchell telling us a little bit more about the track here is turn 1 into 2 are uphill, turn 3 and 4 are downhill, which is fantastic. I like this. The elevation changes make it difficult for getting a handle on the racetrack. This, of course, is one of the race weekends where you're going to have to be patient because you don't have the notes for this racetrack. Now, somebody like Sarah Thorne and DJ Kennington have those notes. Whether they want to share them, probably not. I think the 56, of course, Brandon McFarland, he'll have those notes. What we need to see, how obviously is, and I was really kind of hoping a little bit more, is that we would get a bit more sponsor opportunities from Atlantic Canada that would been on some of these race cars. I haven't heard of anything like Sobeys is based out of Atlantic Canada, same as Irving and McCain. Obviously, it's a little different if they're not out of Newfoundland. Maybe they wouldn't go and sponsor, or they'd rather look towards something like a Riverside. But I don't think that this is completely out of the possibility that maybe we would do 2 races out in Atlantic Canada at some point. Perhaps you go back to Riverside. I know it's very hard logistically to do this, very costly, and there's just not the money, as far as I've been made aware, at Riverside to be able to do it. And of all the seasons to do it, though, Mitchell, and you say it's definitely not cheap. Of all the seasons to do it, this is the hardest one, I think, that it will be, because of what the situation is we're facing right now. Now, hopefully, with everything that's opening up again, the pandemic kind of slowly phasing its way out, things going back to semi-normal, eventually we'll be able to catch up the manufacturing gaffes and the lack of supplies, lack of parts through manufacturing, with people back working regular schedules again. Hoping to at least help with the backlog. This, like I said, this season is the biggest test. Biggest test, 100%. Because if this does not work this year, they only have 2 more years on their contract to go back. We have seen in the past that if the money is not there, the cars are not. Now, would somebody like Glenn Stiers want to go out and spend all that money? Maybe. Guy loves to race, loves everything about what he's doing in the NASCAR Pinty Series this season. We absolutely love having him. But at the end of the day, does it make sense to go all the way out there, destroy a car potentially, and then have to drive all the way back or take your ferry all the way back? Now, the difference is there's a considerable amount of time between this and the next oval race. Okay? The next oval race, I believe you're looking at, is out east or out west. So, while yes, you have Toronto on the 19th, let me just make sure I pull up the schedule here. Yeah, so you're not heading back out to Western Canada for Edmonton and Wine Group until at least the 23rd. That's a month away. So, again, there is some considerable time there, but you've also got to get your road cars ready. You got to go to Toronto. There's a lot of stuff that's, if it doesn't work this time around, like I'm saying, there is so much pressure on everybody involved in making this happen, that if it doesn't work and if it's a complete disaster, it will turn people away. 100%. That is exactly what will happen. The teams just don't have the budget to go out and do it year in and year out if it's not worth the investment. This year, it does appear to be so. I believe the purse is upped for this event. Still didn't get really that many additional entries, and really it's because we don't have really any other cars available. But for a team like say Jim Bray, it doesn't make sense to go out there if they know that they're not going to compete for the win. So it's a tough sell. Hopefully they get added. Hopefully we see 1 or 2 more surprise entries come on. I don't really know of anybody else that would be available. I don't know of any other cars, to be frank with you. I know you have a couple. Maybe Larry Jackson might have a rental car, or maybe Legendary Motor Car has some road course cars that they could transfer. Obviously, Jim Bray's cars, 22 Racing, but there really isn't a ton. So the decision's going to have to be made kind of after this season. We'll see how it goes, see how the tickets are. I know that they had a pretty good sellout of reserved seating right off the start. That bodes well. But again, it's the whole package. Now, obviously, we will be on the I will be on the NASCAR Pinty Series Facebook community on the 25th for a pre-race and then post-race. Hopefully, we are able to get it in on the Saturday. Hopefully, there's no weather that's going to ruin festivities. Hopefully, it'll be a very fun and exciting race. I think we can see with the drivers that we have here listed on screen, you're going to have a solid event. That's definitely for sure. And while we've had some squabbles between, say, Dexter Stacy and Mark Dilley, Andrew Ranger and Mark Antoine Cameron had a little bit of a coming together at Chaudier. You obviously have CTMP between Lacroix and between Gary Clute. And then I think you still have Cameron versus EHR. I still believe that there's something there. I'm not saying that it's completely warranted right now. I think Brandon Watson and Donald Teague, potentially there could be something that's happening there. But there's definitely a lot that we have going into this whole weekend, and it's extremely exciting as a NASCAR Pinty Series fan, as the host of the Power Hour, and to have you guys tuning in and all excited about what we're going to see this upcoming weekend. I mean, it's something that we can really look forward to continuing when we head to Toronto and when we head to the Western provinces for Wyatt. I keep calling it Wine Group. It's Sutherland Automotive Raceway in Edmonton International Raceway. And we see Jamie Krizik and Chantal Kalika, and maybe we see a couple more entries out there that maybe we weren't expecting. I'm not sure about Luke Haukus or Nick Jewell, any of those names, whether they would come out and race again. I don't even know if they have cars, to be honest with you. But obviously it's going to be really exciting to see those tracks. So we've got basically a we got a street course in Toronto, and then you've got 3 quickly oval track races. Head back out to GP3R at the beginning of August, and then we come back for Oshweekend on dirt, which we expect the car count to be really up for Oshweekend. I really hope the weather will play well for us, because obviously with dirt, you can't really have a saturated track. You can't have extreme weather beforehand. Now, it is on a Tuesday, so hopefully that will play well for us. And then we go back to CTMP and then end it all at Delaware. I expect we'll see a couple more entries for the finale at Delaware. It always seems like the finale gets when it was at Jukasa, and then we got a couple more last year. Still haven't seen any kind of word regarding, say, Malcolm Strawn with Jim Bray's team. So hopefully names like that. I think Cole Powell had said he probably is not going to be in a Pinty's ride. So he was in the 36 last year at Delaware, so that would kind of take him away. But I think if you saw the NASCAR Pinty Series community page, we got Kyle Steckley asked by Michael Wallace of the Wide World of Motorsports if he's going to be in a Pinty's ride. I never say never, right? And I definitely think we're going to see him at some point. It just seems he's got the sponsor that was in this series last year with Pete Shepard, so I don't think that would be a too big of a shock if he ended up running a race. Let's end this tonight by going over some of the paint schemes for 2022. Now, this is something that I always like doing for the NASCAR Pinty Series community group. I've got some amazing photos from Jonathan Naus, Jeremy Tessier, Stephen Ellis, and of course Pops Al Harris. I don't even know if I actually included any from Al, but the reason we're showcasing this is what I really am curious. I want to get people's opinions on the paint schemes for 2022 as to what people like, what they don't like. It's something that I like to do because as somebody who likes to create fictional schemes, I'm always curious to hear what people like, what they don't like, and how somebody could improve their paint schemes for 2023. Obviously, there's some really kind of recognizable schemes that we'll see over the years. Obviously, this one has not changed so much. The 98 for Sam Fellows, it's pretty much the same as it was last year. You've got the Zero car with Glenn Stiers, and obviously these aren't the best pictures. I kind of had to rush, but one of my favorite looking rides was this one. And then there's one maybe that I'm not as big of a fan of, which is the 3 for Brett Taylor. Just doesn't it's something that's I'm not really a fan of, whereas I'm really a fan of the 9 car, this paint scheme at least. So week in and week out, you can't go wrong with purple, man, and this is a beautiful looking ride for Dexter Stacy. It's something that we're used to seeing, at least. This is the ride that we saw Brandon run in the Ford generic, but they turned it into a Chevy for CTMP, I assume because there was no road course car available. DJ's got to be a contender for one of the best paint schemes for this season. A little busy for me, but still pretty good. Gary Clute, just basic with the similar scheme that we've seen over the last couple years with New Techwood on his 59 car. Very similar to what we saw 22 Racing with Paillet and the 96 for Marc-Antoine. Very similar again, pretty much the same paint scheme that we've seen for Kevin Lacroix, just with now ESR wheels on there. This is a different look for this season, pretty similar to last year, but Ray Jr. in that number 8 car was along with, and they got Dexter Stacy's Dad Wallace in the 66. Again, I would say it's, again, we know Kevin Poitras's car. One of my favorites this season. This is the 20 for Trayton Lapsevich. Definitely a good-looking ride. I'm going to be a little biased. I helped design this car, so I like the 99 for Matthew Skinnell. Good picture there from Stephen Ellis. Jeremy Tessier with the 31. This is a Daniel Bois car designed by Darren Dryden. And, of course, Alex Tagliani. Big part of his deal there is he helps design his stuff. Jerry Hall, the master of designing paint schemes. He got the 6 for Peter Kloot. So I thought this is pretty much the rotation, I believe, of sponsors and cars for this season. So, of course, Larry Jackson, they've changed it a little bit, adding the green highlight on the bottom with the lightning bolts. Love it. The 37 for Simone Dion Vienne. Very kind of busy with sponsorship, but it's pretty well the same than what we've seen. So again, I love to see what people like, what they don't like. We'll be putting out the posts later on the group so that we can start doing these championship battles between who has the best paint scheme for 2022. Now, unfortunately, where we kind of fall a little flat is people like to vote for their favorite driver and their team that they're part of instead of what looks best. That's what we want to do, though. We want to make sure that it's a fair contest, not all about who you are associated with, but that is what we'd like to do for the rest of this season, is to start doing those pretty well as soon as the season ends. That's what we're going to do. But we're going to wrap it up pretty early today because we are excited to go racing at Eastbound Park. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in today. We had a good amount of people, some weekly guys and gals, and I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, again, we weren't able to get going on Facebook, it looks like, but definitely able to get going here on YouTube and on GeForce TV. Make sure you guys tune into GeForce each and every week for Adam Ross and Clinton Jeffrey. Race Rivals, Race Chat. They are always entertaining, always a lot of fun. Not sure if they're going to be live this week because they're heading out to Newfoundland, so might be something that you're not going to actually see. Race Rivals, Race Chat, they do have it booked for tomorrow, and then you got Oshweekend on Friday night, Knights of Thunder at Humberstone on June 30th. So a bit of a break there until July 2nd for the APC Series, Canadian Sprint Car Nationals at Oshweekend on Canada Day. So lots of racing here on GeForce TV. Of course, you'll find us every Monday at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock talking about the NASCAR Pinty Series, the True North Strong and Fast. Thanks, Dave Bradley. And, of course, what I've got to ask is just a little tiny thing. You tune into the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. We're going to have some names from the NASCAR Pinty Series. We have names from the APC Series, Superstock Series, Weekly Racing, media members. So go subscribe to our channel. Follow us on social media. We're all over the place on social media. And, of course, make sure you follow the NASCAR Pinty Series. Follow Pinty's Fan Zone for your chance to win tickets to races and to win prizes all season long. And, of course, make sure that you tune in to the NASCAR Pinty Series community Facebook group, okay? We're approaching things really quickly. 4.4, I believe we're up to, and we're trying to get to 5K by the end of the season. At this pace, we are going to get there. So thank you guys so very much. Yeah, I'd like to see it, Mitchell. Hopefully we get to see Sarah with her regular sponsor on her car. We'll have to see. Hopefully it happens. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Mitchell and Terry, Luke. Obviously, got to appreciate my old pops there, Cameraman Al, for tuning in, who celebrated a birthday this past weekend. So happy birthday, obviously, to Pops, Cameraman Al, who's always hanging out in the chat during the broadcast. So we'll be live next week, again, talking about the race, live after the race on the Facebook group. And also make sure you check out the Stickers and Scuffs podcast next week. Interview with Gary Kloot from the NASCAR Pinty Series. Following week, we hope to have an interview with Dexter Stacy of the NASCAR Pinty Series. So definitely check it out. Thank you guys for tuning in once again for the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour with your wingman Cam K. Thank you so much. Let's have some fun at Eastbound Park this weekend. Make sure to check it out. Flow Racing and TSN. Should be a lot of fun. We'll talk about it with you guys